Henry, the Philly rumors are back at it again, and people are asking me what I think. And all I can say is remember Tombstone, the movie? Remember Doc Holliday? He has the perfect line for this. Vino in veritas. Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, Keith Dingbat here. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you hanging in there. You know, Derrick Henry would look absolutely great in Midnight Green. He would look absolutely great in Kelly Green. Derrick Henry could be an absolute beast for the Philadelphia Eagles. He could also be a huge bust for the Philadelphia Eagles. But if I had a chance to go out and get him, well, from a biased, self-serving point of view, I would go out and try to sign him, because Derrick Henry, to me, is a guy that could be the perfect fit for the Eagles. Now, why are we talking about Derrick Henry again? It seems like this never ends with him. We've had trade rumors with Derrick Henry last year. Now we're getting free agency rumors with Derrick Henry to Philly. It seems like where there's smoke, there's fire. As Doc Holliday and Tombstone said, Vino in veritas, okay? And the truth of the matter is, I don't know if the Eagles really want to go out and get him or not. But it seems like there's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of things coming from other people that had the Eagles really interested in him. With the addition of Kellen Moore, would he even fit, though, okay? I'm not saying the Eagles are going to go out and pursue him. I don't know. All I'm going to say is what is being said out there, okay? What every content creator for the Eagles is pretty much talking about today. Derrick Henry. Why? It has to do something with this. NFL rumors. The Baltimore Ravens and Philadelphia Eagles are the top landing spot for Tennessee Titan free agent Derrick Henry. Now, if you go back a year, we were one of the top landing spots to trade for Derrick Henry. If you remember this, a year ago, Derrick Henry, 2023 team odds. Tennessee Titans plus 250, Philadelphia Eagles plus 400. Then you have Buffalo, Miami, and so on. But the Eagles were the second favorite team to land Derrick Henry a year ago. Then you had the trade deadline where you had KGB come out and say that the deal between Henry and the Eagles was done. He was going out there, he was saying it. We usually don't hear KGB come out there and say things like that. It was very odd, and so much so that you almost felt that there was some truth to it. And I'm sure there was. But for whatever reason, it fell through. Now, we're in free agency, or getting ready to go into free agency, and Derrick Henry is out there, and he's probably going to be probably pretty cheap. I think more on the cheaper side than the more expensive side. He may be looking for a one-year deal, and the Eagles may be the perfect team to go out and get him. All right, now if you look at Derrick Henry last year, he still had 280 carries, 1,167 yards, 12 touchdowns, and averaged 4.2 yards a carry. Yes, Derrick Henry is 30 years old. This is true. Yes, we need to get younger. I agree with all those things. I'm with you. But are the Eagles with you? Because the Eagles are going to look to bring in guys that can help them win right away. I think Derrick Henry has a couple years left. I really do. I think Derrick Henry has a few years left. And if I could go out and bring him into this team, I would do it. I would do it. I prefer, to be honest with you, to go out and get him on a one-year deal than to probably go pay Saquon Barkley big money or something like that. Now, of course, we got to talk about DeAndre Swift, because I know what's in the comments. DeAndre Swift, DeAndre Swift, DeAndre Swift. I want DeAndre Swift back too. My dream case scenario would be DeAndre Swift and Derrick Henry. 1-2 punch. Think of Montgomery and Gibbs in Detroit. Something like that. It would be absolutely fantastic. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, the Eagles don't use a running back like him. They don't run the ball a lot. That is true. And Kellen Moore doesn't use the running back a lot. It's all true. But you know what? Thinking about it, that may be an actual reason why Derrick Henry would want to come to Philly. Maybe going to a place like Philly where you don't get as much work and much wear and tear, it kind of adds some years to your career. Maybe by going to Philly and, getting, 175, 200 carries. Let's say 200 carries in a year. Maybe it adds a year or two to his career. Maybe he likes that. Maybe that would work for him. I think Derrick Henry with the Eagles could be absolutely great. Especially, to me, it's not the quantity of how much you use him. It's the quality. It's using him at the right points in the right situations. If the Eagles can pinpoint that and use him effectively and get a lot out of each carry, I think it would be worth it. Derrick Henry is one of my favorite players in the league, especially non-Eagle. So I will fully admit, I'm saying this from a biased, self-serving point of view of wanting to see Derrick Henry in Philly because I've always dreamt of it, back when he was in high school. A lot of people don't know, I was up and I was staying in the Fernandina Beach. I was actually living up in Fernandina Beach, Florida. It was for a few years I was there, and it was 2010, I believe. It was around 2010, and I was driving home from work, and I was going by a field in Yulee, Florida, which is like the town over. It's like real close to each other. And so I'm like, oh, there's a big high school game going on there. I'm gonna go watch a little football. I felt like, just seeing what was going on. So I go and I watch this football game. And it was Yulee versus Fernandina Beach. And this team, Yulee, I think they're Yellow Jackets, I think that's what they're called, whatever. They had this running back. And this dude was going off. I mean, this guy had like 200 yards. I don't know exactly what the yards, but it had to be like, it had to be 200 at the very least. And he was bigger than everybody else. And it was Derrick Henry playing for the high school Yulee. And I watched him, and I said, man, this kid's a beast. And then at that point, I started following him. I went to another game later that year and watched him play. And he was a hell of a player. Went on, of course, to Alabama, now with the Titans. So I have a lot of respect and admiration for Derrick Henry, and I would love to see him in Philly for self-serving reasons. So I will put that out there. But realistically, the Eagles do need running backs. I think they need 2 running backs. And I would like to see this team have a big physical running back like a Derrick Henry, and then a complimentary back like a DeAndre Swift. What is Henry going to cost? I'm thinking he's going to cost you probably, I saw anywhere from $6 to $8 million a year. If you could get him at that on, let's say, a 1-year deal, you take that money, you give it to him up front in like signing bonus so it doesn't kill your cap, I say bring him in for a year. I think it could only help the Eagles. Now, they're not going to use him 30 carries a game, 20 carries a game. I get that. But it may actually help him lengthen his career. To me, like I said, it's not the amount of carries he gets. It's using him in the right way. Same issue I had with DeAndre Swift. You don't have to give DeAndre Swift 25 carries, but you got to know when to give him the ball. You got to know when your offense needs him. You got to know the situations. You got to know when to use him in the passing game. If the Eagles can utilize him correctly, he could be a major, major, major signing for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Derrick Henry, and if you want to talk about, well, how likely is this? I think that there's a chance. I'm not saying there's an 80%, 90% chance. We don't all know. But if you take everything that we've heard about Derrick Henry coming to Philly over the last year, and I believe that whole KGB thing that went down, I don't believe that was a mistake. I don't believe he was just talking out his ass. I believe there was something to it. He had heard something, and it almost went down, but it didn't. So, yeah, I would take Derrick Henry in a second. And if you can't have Derrick Henry and DeAndre Swift back, well, then get Derrick Henry and then draft a running back that would be a good complementary piece. I think you have to draft a running back either way. Whether you don't sign a Derrick Henry or you do, or you bring back DeAndre Swift. When you look at here's 33rd team, top 10 free agents, right? And these are running backs. You have 1 Saquon Barkley, 2 Josh Jacobs, 3 Derrick Henry, 4 Tony Pollard, 5 Austin Eckler, 6 DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Zach Moss, Gus Edwards, and Devin Singletary. Now, here's my thing. I would cross off Gus Edwards. I would cross off Zach Moss. I don't want those guys, all right? J.K. Dobbins is a guy we're hearing a lot about when it comes to the Eagles and a running back. My problem with him is he's just injured all the time. I think he gets hurt too much. Then, of course, you have DeAndre Swift is 6 and Austin Eckler. Now, I said this before. I do think that the Eagles want Austin Eckler or like him on some level. We've heard the Eagles try to get him in the past. Now Kellen Moore's coming over from the Chargers, who was with him a year ago. He's a guy you have to keep your eye out. Me personally, okay, because a lot of times people, if I say something about I think the Eagles could do this or could that, people think that means I'm endorsing it. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying I think it's possible. I would rather have DeAndre Swift before I would have Austin Eckler. Okay, I don't want anything to do with Tony Pollard. One, he's a Dallas Cowboy, but I think I don't think he's all that. Sorry, I just don't. Josh Jacobs and Barkley are probably going to be a lot of money. Saquon Barkley, like I said on the Eagles, if he played on the Eagles, it would be very interesting to see him behind a really good offensive line. Josh Jacobs, another great player. I think they're going to ask for a lot of money. But when it comes to Derrick Henry, because of his age, people say, well, why do you sign these guys that are 30 years old? They only have a year or two left. The reason the Eagles do it is because sometimes they can get them cheaper. And it's a cheap way to go about things. But if they get Derrick Henry at the right price, at a right price for 1 year, set it up so you're not getting killed or it's not hurting you against the cap, I would be all for it. My dream case scenario, of course, would be Henry and Swift. That's not going to happen. What are the chances the Eagles bring back DeAndre Swift? Because to me, when I look at this list, there's only really 2 moves I really like. There's a couple other ones, but they're not likely. I don't think Barkley's likely. I don't think Jacobs is likely, although I would love both those guys. But when you look at Henry and you look at Swift, one, Swift played with the Eagles, so there's that familiarity. And then you have Derrick Henry, who's been rumored to the Eagles for over a year now. He's got guys like A.J. Brown there that could tell him to come in. It could be a perfect fit for the Eagles. Look, the Eagles aren't going to run the ball 50% of the time. They're not going to run the ball 60% of the time. But what the Eagles are going to do, and what they can do, is utilize these guys in the right situations. If they can do that with Henry, I think Henry still can go out there, have 1,000 yards. I think he's got a year or two left. And maybe a 1-year deal would set him up perfectly for free agency on the market. And then you go in the draft, mid-rounds, you draft another running back, and hopefully after a year he can take over. But to me, out of this list, DeAndre Swift, Derrick Henry, and really, to me, those are the 2 guys that really excite me on this list because I don't think the other guys are possible. And then I think Austin Eckler is somebody you got to watch out for, although I don't want him. So we'll see. But Derrick Henry to the Eagles, the rumors live on, and I'm 100% behind getting Derrick Henry. Whether the Eagles do that or not, I'm not going to hold my breath. But it's one of those things that, yes, I would absolutely love. And speaking of one other thing that I would love if Chris Simms would shut the hell up. Like, shut the hell up, all right? Did you see the Chris Simms, right, he's going after Jalen Hurts again. Chris Simms, pound Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, on pound Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. He goes, quote, I respect a lot about Jalen Hurts, but I think Jalen Hurts is also the most overrated player in football. That's me. I know I'm wrong. I take a lot of crap about that comment. But he plays quarterback for a team that's an all-star team. They have the best O-line in football. It's not even close. I think if you put some other quarterback in Philly, you put Kyler Murray in there, you'd say, damn, Kyler's amazing. Is he MVP of football? So, Chris Simms couldn't wait to trash Jalen Hurts, right? These guys... It's funny because these guys who have hated on him and they come out, and you see this with a lot of guys in media, they'll say something about somebody, it doesn't come true, they have to change their response or they have to kind of eat crow, and then as soon as something goes back, they love to jump back the other way. So when Chris Simms was really impressed and Jalen Hurts won him over and all that, it's all bull crap. It's all bull crap. The thing that people like him miss that drive me nuts is, you could say Jalen Hurts has this flaw or he has this flaw. And listen, he's not perfect. He's got to get better. But the one thing that I'm convinced of that Jalen Hurts has that a Kyler Murray doesn't have, he's a winner. You put Jalen Hurts in a situation to win a game in a big moment, I believe he can do that for you. And I believe he will do that for you. And I believe that Super Bowl, if we had enough time, if you give Jalen Hurts, as much time as the Kansas City Chiefs had on their final drive before overtime last week, Jalen, in the Super Bowl a year ago, Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, to me, is a winner. I think he's clutch. And I think that people who often talk about winning is the only thing that matters, championships are the only things that matter, they love to dismiss and brush under the bed Jalen Hurts and the fact that he can win big games and big moments. And to me, I just think that the people that don't like him, they're more worried about being right than they are worried about what the truth is. To say he's the most overrated player after the guy for 11 weeks last year was one of the top favorites to win the MVP is absolutely insane. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision. We're all just living in it. Okay, so we are closing in on 100,000 subscribers. We're closing in on 100,000 subscribers. And it's happening way faster than I thought it was going to. And it's kind of got me like a little bit like, I'm definitely excited about it, but I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I'm ready for this. To me, it's a big deal. It's something that I never thought would happen. And it's all because of you guys. And I want to thank you guys, and I appreciate it. But I also want some advice. What do I do? Like, what should we do for 100K? I'm thinking live stream with a cigar, something like that. But, I mean, what do people do? I don't know what to do. But I think we should do something, but I don't want to overdo it. But, any advice you guys have, let me know. And, oh, by the way, if you haven't, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button. With that said, Denzel Washington out.